Okay, welcome back, everyone. Now we have question and answer session. Um, and Maham, many people are asking so many questions. Muhammad Ahmed Salar is asking about Fulbright and Rhodes Scholarship. Would you like to answer
Okay.
that? Yeah.
Sir, I can to like a broad level, but not in particular because I didn't apply for either. But so I can start with Fulbright and know more about that. The Fulbright application, generally, from what I know, is a completely funded program that you can go and but you have to come back to your country for 2 years after that. So I can tell you the do's and don'ts of Fulbright. The pros and cons of Fulbright. Basically, the pros are obviously it's a completely funded program, so that's a huge thing to consider. Secondly, the Fulbright scholars have a community of their own in which they interact and mingle, and so you become part of a larger group of academics and intellectuals, which is always helpful. Just as a support system when you're in the new country as well, but also for building relationships for the future. And another thing is that I don't know whether Fulbright still does that or not, but Fulbright used to fund conferences for all Fulbright scholars to attend either one or two conferences during their academic year, which again is super helpful. It allows you to branch out to meet new people. That's the advantage of doing Fulbright. The disadvantage of doing Fulbright, and what I considered particularly, and the reason I didn't apply for it. Firstly, I didn't apply for Fulbright because I know I had to give the GRE for it, and my mathematics is particularly poor. So I felt like I was going to struggle too much with that, and I thought I'd rather like focus that energy on my application um, than on trying to ace the GRE. Uh, but that being said, from what I've heard from a lot of friends who have done the Fulbright, you don't need um, a stellar score in maths for an LLM program. I think if you have a decent score, you have a shot with the Fulbright for an LLM at least. Another thing I considered for why I didn't consider Fulbright is because initially I at that time, and which eventually did end up happening, is I eventually always planned to come back to Pakistan, but I also planned to work abroad for a bit, and I realized that Fulbright would constrain me from that. The problem that lies there is that once you're in a program and everyone's applying and you have the university's career counseling as well, and job placement fairs are happening, it's just easier to get placed that way. If you come back and then you're out of the thing, out of the circle for 2 years, and then you start applying again, it is possible, and I know people who've done that, but it's quite an uphill battle for that. So that was one reason that was another reason what I considered for the Fulbright. And honestly, the third reason I considered was that I had researched on scholarships at Harvard, at Yale, and I genuinely thought that I have a shot at getting a scholarship from one of those schools. And because I thought that I had a shot at that, I was more willing to take that shot rather than the Fulbright, because I just thought that was an easier thing to do. And again, all universities, Yale, Harvard, all of them have scholarships that are also merit based, and so have like a prestige attached to them, which like I was a gold scholar at Yale. So it's those were my reasons for choosing to apply directly as opposed to applying through Fulbright. And one more reason, which I've seen happen to a lot of people, is that the way Fulbright works is that they will fund your when you apply through Fulbright applies on your behalf to a number of universities. The way you get 100% aid is that your university pays for some of it, and then Fulbright pays for some of it. Sometimes, or a lot of times, there's the issue where, say, you've gotten into NYU, but NYU is willing to foot 20% of the bill for your LLM, but you've also gotten into, say, what Texas University, and they're willing to foot like 50% of it. Fulbright would send you to Texas rather than send you to NYU. And I felt I didn't want to give up that kind of control of where I went because it was very important to me. And I've seen that happen to a number of people because your eventual placement is decided by Fulbright, not by you. Places you do get in, it's not necessary that Fulbright will send you there. So those are the things I thought about. But that being said, I think Fulbright is fantastic. I feel like it's a lot of money to spend on an LLM, and if you have a chance of doing one that is completely funded, regardless of where you're going, you should take that. If you get a Fulbright, you don't get you're not placed in a university you want to go to, still do it. Do that LLM, then do another one if you want to fund it yourself or go somewhere else. But a completely funded program doesn't hurt. As far as the Rhodes Scholarship goes, I've the Rhodes is I what I know of it is I know it's super competitive. I think one thing a lot of people forget in the Rhodes is that it has an age requirement, so you should be very particular about that. Rhodes also, I like Oxford's website has that for universities where there's a GPA system like LUMS has, your GPA needs to be above a 3.7. So if you want to apply for the Rhodes, you have to have thought about that during your undergrad, because you should have really have worked towards it. And otherwise, applications for UK universities are also slightly different from the US universities, in the sense that, from what I've seen, is the way you write for US universities is a slightly more personalized touch and a little informal, like you're bearing more of your soul basically. But I feel like with the UK universities, they require a certain they require you to be more professional about it, and they have a more stoic style of writing, if I may say so. So that's the difference that I think. But I still think that if someone's looking to apply to the UK particularly, they should definitely talk to people who've gone to the UK for their LLM.
So, Maham, I think one thing really stands out from your discussion by now is that you're very candid about yourself. So you said, "Oh, I didn't go for Fulbright because I knew I am not good in maths," and yet still you have this confidence that, "Oh, I'll just go and I'll apply and I'll just get it." Hey, where is it this coming from? Like, this is very distinct.
Sir, I think so. Generally, I've had my fair share of struggles with academia as well. I wasn't a particularly good student in school, and my parents really had to push me. But I feel like once I came to LUMS, I credit a lot of the way I think. Generally, my overall positive outlook to professors I've had during my undergrad. Professors, now having taught myself, I'm more aware of that fact. But I feel like professors don't realize the impact they can have on a student's life if they're invested. And you and I have had that relationship as well. So I feel like that's something that's there. Again, I wasn't even applying to Yale when I was applying, but I had another professor who pushed me because he thought I could do it more than I did. And then I feel like that's where that comes from. And another thing you I see is that generally in life, for work as well, there will always be things you don't know or cannot do, but you need to find a way to move forward from that and focus on what you can do. Because the world is huge and there's so many opportunities, and it's a hit and miss. Honestly, even when I was applying for a job, even as a Yale student, I had a really hard time, sir. I think you apply to like 500 places, or like it's also like I was writing to partners of law firms, so I would have spent like 3 months like something like 250 to 300 emails, and I was getting rejections every day. But the idea is that the firstly, nothing is the end of the world. Even if you don't go into a law firm, it's fine. If you don't go into a magic circle firm, it's fine. Nothing is the end of the world. And secondly, there's always something out there. And if you generally which I've always told students now, and I feel like has helped me immensely, is you focus on relationships with people, with your professors, with your teachers. If you feel like a teacher is invested in your well-being, I can assure you, even if you leave school, that is the best thing that you can have, just for someone to talk to. Your family is a support system, which is an emotional support system, but you cannot underscore the support system that good mentorship has in a profession. So I derive a lot of my confidence from people who've taught me and people who've pushed me to do better. I remember even with you, I didn't want to work on the Lund's Law Journal initially, but you were like, I'm hearing nothing of it. You have to, because I sometimes feel, and having taught myself, that teachers can see potential better than you can sometimes yourself, because they've gone through that process. They know what it takes. So I would credit that to that as well.
That's very, very insightful, Maham. Another thing I just ask my students, and which is really important, is that what's the source of your motivation? What keeps you going after dropping 500 applications and receiving hundred and thousands of rejections? What keeps you going?
Uh, Firstly, sir, honestly, for me, not getting a job was I've emotionally come to that point where I know that nothing is the end of the world, and not getting a job is not. Uh, Having had to go back to your home country, honestly, is not the worst thing that can happen to you. I left Paris and came back because I've realized that your home is your home at the end of the day. So थोड़ा सा वो motivation होता है, and I'm also saying that it's not I'm not saying that you there won't be times when there will be a low, and I feel like those are the times when emotional support, people around you are equally more important. And there are situations like these when you're maybe your parents can't understand what you're going through because they don't know the struggles of how to get into a law firm. Say they love you, but it's just something, then you want people who've gone through the same thing. And honestly, eventually at the way I landed Sherman also is because their managing partner was teaching me at Yale, and I was on very good terms with her. And I spoke to her one day. So one thing I've always had is I'm open to talking about things I'm struggling with. I feel like a lot of people, I feel like if you're closed off about your insecurities, you, in your head, they're a bigger thing than they actually are. So talking about it also kind of dissipates the importance of them, because if you keep it in your head, you're thinking about it more, and you don't have anyone else's opinion on it, so you make a bigger deal out of it than the thing is in itself. So in that situation, I feel like support from friends, from colleagues, from family is very important. And I've been blessed with like parents as well who are super supportive. I've had amazing teachers. I've even at Yale, even here, even at LUMS, and there's still times when I I have the relationship where I can call up any of some of my teachers and just be like, this is something I'm dealing with. Should I do this job? Should I not? Should I do this? Should I do don't? And they honestly are super helpful people. So yeah.
That's fantastic. May I ask, if I were you to ask to give advice to students who are doing their law, or thinking about doing their law, or maybe want to pursue a master's, what would be your advice to them?
So if you're thinking about doing law, I think you should definitely do it. I think it's an amazing profession. I absolutely love it. Actually, like even during law school, I was actually made fun of the fact that I loved what I studied. So if you like it, law is also something. If you love it, you will excel in it, because there's just so much learning to do. Even right now, even though I've written enough on international law, I've studied enough. Every day I learn new things, of new things coming up, because that's just like the evolving process that law is. As far as I would say doing an LLM, I think that should definitely be on your radar. I don't think that you should have the aspiration that, oh, I don't want to do it. Even if you're a legal practitioner, you're a consultant, you're an academic, you are whatever, even if you're just someone who wants to later on just sit at home and write a legal blog, I feel like the personal development in an international program is something that's unparalleled. You will learn so much, not just in class, but from people around you, of how and of firstly how different people look at the law, which also gives you a holistic viewpoint of the entire thing. But also by if you look at, if you're talking to students and if you're talking to friends, you'll also realize, again, that's where your struggles come in, that everyone has is having their own battles to fight. If you look at someone and say, oh, their career is perfect and they've had like it easy, I can assure you no one has. People have had their fair share of struggles. If it's not financial, it'll be academic. If it's not academic, it'll be health. If it's not health, it'll be family. But everyone is fighting an uphill battle. And so for that, I would also say, even if you're in school, even if you're doing well, firstly be empathetic to people around you. You don't know what someone's going through. And secondly, I would be like, doing an LLM, honestly, or an international program, it grooms you in a way that I feel like, especially in in a world that we live in today, which is so globalized, is immensely helpful for your professional and your personal development. It makes you more tolerant. It opens you towards other ideas which you may have like not even thought about. It makes you more accepting of people and of change, which I feel like some people are also adverse to. So yeah. And that's the reason I also particularly wanted to live in another country apart from the US after my LLM, is because I realized that living different places teaches you different things. So yeah, that would be my two
Thank you
cents.
very much, Maham. That was amazing. I think that was wonderful. And you really show us that you don't have to be super duper, a topper, a gold medalist, a really superstar in order to excel in legal profession. You could be a person who actually is self-aware, know
Hmm.
what are their strengths and what their weaknesses, and then build onto that, right? So I think this is really
Definitely.
important. If you want to have a happy life, which is also successful, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not that if you're successful you cannot be happy, and if you're happy you cannot be successful. um,
Yep.
so they can go hand in hand. So if you want to have such a life, it's just very much possible. So yes, I think Maham, I totally I find it fantastic. And in our series of legal egos, so not everyone is this really super duper. And I think
Mm.
in some of our sessions I will bring some student who was actually struggling in law.
Mm.
He was unable to complete his law within 7 years, and was about to be struck off from the university, and then made really recovery. And I was just very pleased to hear that that person is accepted in 5 top law schools for LLM,
That's
and
amazing.
aims to pursue a PhD in law. So
That that's
that's amazing.
I observe again what I said before. Even when you're talking to people and you feel like, oh, they're perfect, no one is. Everyone has had their fair share of struggles. Even if people who have money, they may have something else that's lacking. I had people with my LLM dealing with health issues. I had people in the LLM dealing with family issues. I
Hmm.
had someone who carried a baby. So everything is a gift, honestly. Even a normal life is a gift.
Yeah. Okay, with this, thank you very much, Maham, for joining us, for your time. I know this is evening and you had a very, very busy day in your office. So I thank you on behalf of the
Thank you
Global
so much,
Institute of
sir.
Oxford.
Thank you. Okay. Bye bye.
Okay. And I look forward to welcoming you again.
Yes, anytime. I'm always available for you.
Fantastic. Great. Take
Bye.
care.
Take care.
Bye.